Sagittarius. They are in the hospital and mention your name. They will never recover from this illness. Sagittarius. Life sometimes shakes us with unexpected news that strikes directly at the core of our heart. When you hear that someone fragile and fighting for their breath in a hospital bed whispers your name, the universe is not just sharing a coincidence. It is calling you to awaken. These moments are not accidents. They are cosmic threads tying your spirit to another soul's journey. Whether this person is a family member, a past friend, or someone you once loved deeply, the fact that your name surfaces in their final battles speaks of unresolved energy, a karmic bond that longs for closure, forgiveness, or healing. This is not about fear but about transformation. The hospital becomes more than a place of illness. It becomes a temple where your name is carried through the air like a prayer, reminding you that you are part of something larger than yourself. Perhaps they are leaving you with a message. Perhaps they are reflecting on love, pain, or lessons that remain unfinished. Sagittarius, this is the moment to open your heart, to listen with your soul, and to prepare to uncover truths that will not only help you understand them, but also heal parts of yourself that you have long silenced. If you feel called by these words, let them guide you gently. Like, share, and subscribe so that together we continue to walk this journey of soul wisdom. Gate 1: The hidden weight of being remembered. Sagittarius, when you learn that someone lying in a hospital bed whispers your name, the moment strikes like lightning in the middle of a calm night. It is not only a sign of remembrance, it is a declaration from the universe that your soul has left an imprint far deeper than you realized. There are times when we go through life believing that our connections are fleeting, that once people leave our daily circle, our presence vanishes from their world. Yet, the truth is that the bonds we weave, through love, pain, misunderstanding, or compassion, continue to live within others like invisible threads of destiny. Imagine a person struggling with illness, weakened by both body and spirit, and among the infinite memories of their existence, it is your name that surfaces. That name does not rise by accident. It carries a vibration, a memory, a story that has not been completed. It could be forgiveness never spoken, gratitude never expressed, or love never confessed. And when such words escape their lips in a hospital room, surrounded by the sterile air of machines and monitors, they are not simply calling you. They are calling the truth of your connection. As a Sagittarius, you are often seen as the wanderer, the truth seeker, the one who runs toward freedom. But freedom does not always mean detachment. Sometimes the people you meet on your path remain tied to you, not by chains but by threads of fate. And when illness or mortality confronts them, those threads pull tighter, drawing your energy into their final reflections. This is not a burden meant to break you. It is a revelation meant to awaken you to your role in their journey. Think of the times in history where names carried power even at the brink of death. Soldiers on battlefields have called the names of mothers, lovers, or friends. Great leaders, in their last breath, often whisper the name of someone who influenced them profoundly. Why? Because at the edge of life, illusions fade and only truth remains. For someone to mention your name in such a sacred space of transition means that your energy represents a truth they cannot escape. You are part of their healing, whether of the body or of the soul. But what does this mean for you? First, it asks you to reflect. Have you left parts of your story with this person unfinished? Did you speak words in anger that remain like sharp edges in their memory? Did you walk away before saying goodbye properly, believing that time would give you another chance? If so, this moment is the universe reminding you that closure is not always given. It must be created. Even if they never recover from their illness, your task is not to fear the loss but to honor the message. Their whisper of your name is an invitation to forgive, to release, and to remember the sacredness of connection. Let us consider a real-life example. In the memoirs of many nurses who have worked in palliative care, countless stories are told of patients who, in their last days, suddenly remember someone from their past. One woman, after 50 years of silence, asked if her childhood friend could be contacted. She said, "Tell her I still think of the day we parted." Even though they never reconnected in person, the friend later learned of this message and described it as a healing balm, lifting decades of regret. Sagittarius, you may one day be that friend, the one whose name was whispered in a final moment, carrying the weight of both sorrow and love. Your natural gift as a Sagittarius is wisdom born from experience. You have walked through fire and storm, and yet you still rise with hope. Now, the challenge is not only to live freely but to live consciously. To understand that your energy echoes in the lives of others, sometimes in ways you may never fully see. That person in the hospital mentioning your name is proof. You have touched lives more deeply than you realize. But do not let guilt consume you. This is not a punishment, it is a calling. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I do with this knowing?" Maybe you cannot heal their illness, maybe you cannot undo the past, but you can send love. You can whisper their name back into the universe with forgiveness, gratitude, and peace. Energy travels beyond walls, beyond machines, beyond hospital beds. When you send love from your heart, it reaches them, even if miles away. This is where your inner journey begins. For many Sagittarius, the hospital becomes symbolic. It may not be a literal room you walk into, but a metaphor for all the places in your life where relationships have grown sick, where connections have weakened, where love has been neglected. To hear your name called from such a space is to be reminded that you have the power to bring light, to visit those inner rooms of the soul, and to restore what was lost. Consider this. If you knew someone could not recover from their illness, and yet they carried your name on their lips, what would you want your legacy in their heart to be? Anger? Silence? Or love? This is the choice the universe places before you. Sagittarius, you are asked to rise above pride, above avoidance, and to embrace compassion, even if it is one-sided. There is a sacred teaching in many spiritual traditions. When someone remembers your name at the threshold between life and death, your soul is being called to step into a higher awareness. It is as though the universe is saying, "Pay attention. This is not just about them, it is about you too." Their struggle, their illness, their remembrance is a mirror. Perhaps you too have wounds that need healing, words that need speaking, or grief that needs releasing. So let this not be just about them. Let it also be about you, about how you can transform this awareness into growth. Take a quiet evening, light a candle, and write a letter to them. Even if they will never read it, pour into it all that was left unsaid. Say, "I forgive you." Say, "I thank you." Say, "I release you." Then burn it or keep it sacred as an act of completion. For in doing so, you honor not only their memory but also your own journey toward wholeness. Sagittarius, being remembered in someone's most vulnerable moment is a gift. It means your life has mattered, your presence has mattered, your love has mattered. Do not take it lightly. Let it awaken you to the truth that relationships are the greatest teachers, and sometimes the last words spoken about you are not curses but blessings. Reminders that love never dies, it simply changes form. Gate 2, the lesson hidden in illness and mortality. Sagittarius, when illness strikes another person yet somehow points its finger in your direction by carrying your name into the hospital room, the message is never shallow. It is a revelation, wrapped in the fragile skin of human suffering, asking you to listen not only with your ears but with your soul. Sickness is not just a breakdown of the body, it is a language. It is the way the spirit calls for balance, the way karma sends reminders, the way destiny whispers truths that comfort cannot always hide. When someone speaks your name during their battle with illness, you must ask, what lesson is being revealed here, and why is it being entrusted to me? Mortality has a way of exposing the truth we often avoid. In health, we are distracted, busy, eager to chase dreams and pleasures. But in sickness, the illusions strip away. What remains are the relationships that shaped us, the regrets we carry, the forgiveness we long to receive, and the gratitude we failed to express. For someone to mention you in that space means that you are a central part of their unfinished story. Maybe they need to forgive you. Maybe they long for your forgiveness. Maybe your presence once gave them a sense of belonging that no medicine could provide. Whatever the case, illness has lifted the veil, showing what truly matters, and your name is written at the center. As a Sagittarius, you are called to see beyond the surface. Illness and mortality, painful as they appear, are teachers in disguise. They remind us of impermanence, yes, but also of depth. A person does not speak the name of someone meaningless when staring at the possibility of their last days. They speak of someone who influenced their journey. And that means, Sagittarius, that you are part of a sacred dialogue between life and death. Let us consider a story that reflects this truth. In 2010, a man named Christopher, who had been estranged from his brother for decades, found himself in a hospital bed after a severe accident. Though his memory was fading in and out, nurses recall him saying his brother's name again and again. The brother was finally contacted, and though he arrived too late to have a full conversation, he sat by Christopher's side in his final hours. Later he said, "It was as though my brother's spirit wanted me there, not for him but for me, to remind me that love had never died even though our relationship had." This story mirrors what you may be experiencing. The mention of your name is not just about their illness, it is about your healing too. Sagittarius, one of your great challenges is the tendency to run when things grow too heavy. Your spirit craves lightness, expansion, horizons beyond the painful present. Yet life is calling you to stand still and witness what illness reveals. It is saying, do not flee this time, do not close your heart, do not convince yourself that silence is easier. When your name is spoken in such a vulnerable space, you are being asked to grow roots, not wings. To stay and to listen. Illness also carries metaphors that apply to your own journey. When someone cannot recover, it does not always mean physical death. Sometimes it is symbolic of a part of your shared story that has ended. It could represent the death of resentment, the death of distance, or the death of illusions. What remains is the truth. Raw, unpolished, and demanding recognition. If you avoid it, you risk carrying the weight of unfinished emotions into your future. If you embrace it, you gain freedom, lightness, and clarity. Think of the body as a mirror. Just as cells fight disease, the soul fights heaviness. And when someone mentions you during illness, it might be the universe's way of saying, look at the illness between you and them. Heal it. This illness might be pride, betrayal, abandonment, or silence. Whatever it is, the calling is to acknowledge it, to tend to it, and to release it. Another real example comes from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the psychiatrist who studied death and dying. She once wrote about a patient who, though unresponsive, suddenly whispered the name of a childhood sweetheart. That person was long gone from her daily life, but in the threshold between life and death, what surfaced was the unfinished love, the unresolved energy. Sagittarius, this is the truth you are being asked to confront. When the body is too weak to pretend, the soul speaks honestly. And the soul has chosen your name. But here lies the lesson you must take for yourself. Do not wait until illness forces the truth to be spoken. Do not wait until it is too late to say what your heart already knows. If you feel anger, release it now. If you feel gratitude, express it now. If you feel love, share it now. Because destiny will always find a way to bring your name into their story. Whether in joy, sorrow, or silence. You have the power to choose which. Sagittarius, your wisdom shines brightest when you recognize that freedom does not mean avoidance. True freedom is to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, and to choose compassion over pride. In this hospital moment, with your name echoing, you are being shown that love, forgiveness, and connection matter more than any achievement or adventure. So what do you do with this knowledge? Begin with honesty. Sit quietly and reflect on the role you played in their life. Ask yourself, what do I regret? What am I grateful for? What remains unspoken? Then act. If you can reach them, reach out. If not, speak to the universe, write a letter, create a ritual of closure. By doing so, you align with the energy of healing that illness is trying to awaken in you. Illness is never random. It is a stage upon which the final act of many stories unfolds. Your name has been written into their act, Sagittarius. Honor it, do not ignore it. See it as the cosmic invitation it is, a chance to rise above the ordinary and step into the sacred. And remember this, the greatest tragedy is not that someone does not recover from illness. The greatest tragedy is when we fail to recover from the illnesses of the heart, resentment, regret, unforgiveness, that keep us from living fully. Let their story become your medicine. Let their whisper become your teacher. Let this moment become your rebirth. Gate 3, the mirror of your own soul. Sagittarius, when the universe allows you to hear that someone lying in a hospital bed has spoken your name, it is not only about them, it is also about you. Life, in its mysterious design, often uses others as mirrors. Their illness, their vulnerability, and even their inability to recover may be reflecting something hidden inside your own spirit. The truth is, you are not just being remembered. You are being invited to see yourself more clearly. For many Sagittarians, life has been a pursuit of horizons. You crave the open road, new experiences, uncharted territory, and truth that lies beyond the surface. But sometimes the greatest journey is not external. Sometimes it is the confrontation with your own inner shadows, the grief you avoided, the forgiveness you withheld, the pain you locked away in silence. When someone calls your name at the brink of their mortality, you must ask yourself, what part of me is being mirrored in this moment? Perhaps it is your fear of loss. Sagittarius, for all your courage and optimism, you carry a secret wound. You fear being tied down, not because you dislike love, but because you dread the pain of losing it. To be remembered in a hospital room may stir this fear awake, forcing you to face the truth that relationships are fragile, temporary, and yet infinitely meaningful. It is the paradox of human life. Everything ends and yet everything matters. By acknowledging this, you soften the edges of your fear and allow love to flow more freely. Or perhaps it is your unfinished story. That person may represent an old chapter you tried to bury. A family bond fractured. A friendship left unattended. A love that burned out without closure. Their illness, their final struggle, pulls that chapter back into the light, asking you to read it again, but this time with wisdom. It is not about reliving the pain. It is about reclaiming the lesson. Every Sagittarian must learn that leaving without closure may free the body but never frees the soul. Sooner or later, the universe finds a way to bring those threads back, asking you to tie them properly. Look closely at the metaphor of illness. Bodies break when they are burdened with too much unresolved energy, anger, regret, sorrow, or suppression. In the same way, spirits weaken when we carry inner illnesses for too long. If their body is failing, it may be a mirror asking you, where are you failing to nourish your soul? Where have you allowed bitterness or avoidance to poison your joy? Their condition becomes a reflection of your own need to heal. Not the same illness but the same root, unfinished emotions. Think of a story I once encountered. A man named Daniel lived with the guilt of having abandoned his childhood friend after a bitter argument. Decades later, he learned that his friend, while dying in the hospital, had whispered his name repeatedly. Daniel described the shock as both painful and illuminating. He realized that what his friend carried to the end was not anger but the memory of a bond too strong to be erased. Daniel himself had been living half a life, always running from the weight of his regret. But that moment, the whisper transformed him. He began reaching out to others he had wronged, began writing letters of apology, and in doing so found peace. Sagittarius, you may find yourself in Daniel's shoes. This whisper is not meant to punish. It is meant to liberate you. And here lies a truth you must face. The people who remember you in their final days are not random. They are soul contracts, agreements made long before this lifetime, that serve as teachers, healers, or mirrors. Their illness becomes part of your awakening. By speaking your name, they are fulfilling their side of the contract, offering you a chance to evolve. Will you fulfill yours? Sagittarius, you are known as the seeker of truth, but truth is not always pleasant. Sometimes it comes as sorrow, sometimes as confrontation, sometimes as a reminder that time cannot be reversed. Yet within this truth lies freedom. The mirror does not lie. It shows you where you must grow. And if you have the courage to face it, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. But what does facing it look like? It begins with honesty toward yourself. Sit with the discomfort. Ask, why does hearing my name in this context shake me so deeply? Is it because I loved them but never said it? Because I wronged them and never made amends? Because I fear losing others in the same way? Allow the answers to rise even if they sting. This is the mirror doing its work. Then, embrace responsibility. Not for their illness, that is not yours to carry, but for your own healing. You cannot change their outcome, but you can change how you respond to it. Instead of shrinking from the pain, walk toward it. Write letters, speak affirmations, release tears, or create rituals of remembrance. These actions are not small, they are medicine for the soul. Finally, allow compassion to lead you. Sagittarius, your fire is a gift, but compassion is the flame that warms rather than burns. Use this moment to soften, to forgive, to send love even if you never receive it back. By doing so, you heal not only the bond with them but the bond with yourself. The mirror does not only reflect wounds, it also reflects love. If someone remembers you in their most fragile moment, it means you mattered. You left a mark no illness could erase. That is a gift you must not overlook. Too often we measure our worth by achievements, wealth, or recognition. But here is the purest proof of value. In their most vulnerable breath, they thought of you. That is legacy. That is immortality. That is love. So, Sagittarius, look into the mirror bravely. See the lessons, see the wounds, but also see the love. Allow their whisper of your name to guide you into greater self-awareness. Their hospital room becomes not just a place of endings, but a place of revelations. And from those revelations, you can begin anew, lighter, freer, and more aligned with the truth you have always been seeking. Gate 4: Destiny's Call and the Healing of Legacy. Sagittarius, when someone in the fragility of illness speaks your name, and the weight of their condition suggests they may never recover, you are not simply a witness to tragedy. You are being invited into destiny. This is not the destiny of grand victories or external conquests, but the destiny of healing, forgiveness, and the weaving of legacy. It is about the way you respond to the truth that your presence, your choices, and your energy remain etched in another person's soul until their final breath. Destiny is often misunderstood as something that happens outside of us, a great event that sweeps us into its current. But destiny at its core is how we carry love, how we face truth, and how we shape the lives of those who touch us. The hospital whisper of your name is destiny knocking, reminding you that legacy is not about how many mountains you've climbed, but about how deeply you've left your footprint in the hearts of others. For Sagittarius, whose fire thrives on exploration and expansion, this truth can be unsettling. You are called to recognize that destiny is not only found on faraway roads, it is also found in the intimate, sometimes painful connections that tie you to others. When someone carries your name into their most vulnerable moment, it is proof that your energy has transcended time, distance, and even suffering. That is not random, it is cosmic alignment. Let us draw from real history. In letters from World War II soldiers, many final notes mention names of loved ones, mentors, or even estranged family members. Scholars who studied these writings noticed a pattern. At the brink of death, men and women did not recall possessions or victories, they recalled people. And often, they recalled those with whom stories remained unfinished. Sagittarius, you now stand in that same sacred pattern. Your name being remembered is not a casual occurrence. It is the universe reminding you that the measure of a life is found in love, forgiveness, and connection. But what do you do with this call of destiny? First, understand that you have been chosen to carry forward the unfinished energy. If they cannot heal in body, then the healing must continue in spirit, and you are the vessel. This does not mean you must carry their suffering, but rather that you must transmute it. You are asked to take the weight of unresolved emotions and turn them into lessons, compassion, and light that ripple into your future. For example, consider a woman named Maria whose estranged father lay in the hospital for months, unable to speak coherently. Yet in his rare moments of clarity, he repeated her name. At first she felt anger. How could he remember her now after years of absence? But later, she realized his soul was reaching for reconciliation. Though she never heard an apology, his whisper of her name was itself an act of humility, a final attempt at connection. After his passing, Maria chose to break the cycle of silence in her own family. She became intentional about expressing love to her children daily, ensuring no word of affection was left unsaid. In this way, she transformed her father's unfinished story into a legacy of healing. Sagittarius, you are being called to the same transformation. Destiny here is not only about them, it is about what you do next. Their inability to recover reminds you that time is finite. The lesson is urgent. Say what must be said now, love who must be loved now. Forgive while forgiveness still matters. Too often, Sagittarius, your adventurous spirit whispers, "Later, I'll return, I'll mend, I'll say it when the timing feels right." But destiny does not wait for convenience. It arrives in the form of whispers in hospital rooms, reminding you that tomorrow is never promised. This is also about your legacy. Ask yourself, if you were the one in that hospital bed, whose name would you call? Who would you long to forgive? Who would you hope to hear one last time? This reflection is not meant to weigh you down, but to sharpen your awareness. Legacy is not what we leave in bank accounts or buildings. It is the echo of our name in the hearts of others. And right now, Sagittarius, the universe is showing you that your name already echoes. The question is, what does it echo as, unresolved pain or healing love? Another dimension of destiny lies in the idea of soul contracts. Many spiritual teachings affirm that certain people enter our lives not for convenience, but for growth. They challenge us, wound us, or uplift us in ways that force evolution. When their body falters and they still speak your name, it is evidence that your contract with them is not yet complete. Even if their earthly life ends, the spiritual bond continues. Your task is to honor that contract, to fulfill your side with love, so that both souls can ascend lighter. But let us not ignore the challenge. It is tempting to feel burdened by this. You may think, why me? Why must I carry this weight? The truth is, you were chosen because your soul is strong enough. Sagittarius energy is one of resilience, optimism, and courage. While others crumble under the weight of grief or guilt, you have the power to transform it into wisdom. You can turn pain into purpose, endings into beginnings, silence into truth. That is why destiny has written your name into their final chapter. So, how do you honor this call practically? Begin by creating ritual. Ritual gives shape to the intangible, grounding the spiritual into the physical. Light a candle for them. Speak their name with love, even if anger once lived between you. Write down the lessons you learned from them, the good and the painful, and declare aloud that you release what no longer serves. If possible, reach out to loved ones connected to them and share kindness, for in doing so, you extend healing through the web of connection. Sagittarius, you must also apply this lesson forward. Do not wait for more hospital whispers to awaken you. Start living with urgency now. Pick up the phone. Mend the silence. Express your love openly. Your destiny is not only to be remembered, it is to ensure that when you are remembered, the memory is one of light. The ultimate healing of legacy lies in this. To live in such a way that your name carries peace, not pain. When you hear that someone has remembered you in their illness, take it as both a gift and a warning. A gift because it proves your life has touched deeply. A warning because it reminds you to live more intentionally, so that no connection remains poisoned by pride or regret. In the end, Sagittarius, destiny's call is always about love. Not the fleeting romance but the eternal kind, the love that binds souls across lifetimes, the love that carries your name beyond recovery, beyond illness, beyond death. Answer this call, and you will not only honor the one who remembered you but also step fully into the truth of who you are. A seeker, a healer, a torchbearer of wisdom who turns even the final breath of another into a lesson of light. The circle of healing. Sagittarius, you have now walked through the depth of this message. Someone in the hospital, unable to recover, has spoken your name. It may shake your heart, it may confuse your mind, but above all it is meant to awaken your soul. This is not merely about their suffering. It is about the reminder that your life is woven into others in ways you may never fully see. Their whisper is both a farewell and an invitation. To forgive, to heal, to live more consciously. The truth is, none of us know how much time we have. But moments like these strip away illusions and show us what truly matters. It is not wealth, not accolades, not how many roads we travel. It is the names we carry in our hearts, the love we have given, the forgiveness we have shared. For someone to carry your name into their final hours is proof that you mattered, that your soul left a mark. And now it is your choice whether that mark becomes a wound or a blessing. Take this as your call to live differently. Say the words you have been holding back. Rebuild the bridges you let fall. Let your pride dissolve in the face of love's urgency. Do not wait for tomorrow to honor the people who matter today. Sagittarius, your fire is meant not only to explore horizons, but also to illuminate the hearts of those who walk beside you. If these words resonate with you, let them be your guide. Share them with others who may need healing. Subscribe to this journey of wisdom so we may walk together. And know that by choosing love today, you create a legacy that no illness, no silence, no ending can ever erase.